But first, a new report released this week by the U.S. Department of Education shows that Wisconsin's black students have the lowest 4th and 8th grade reading scores of any state in the country, and among the worst scores in math. White students here are performing at the national average. The gap between white and black students' achievement in Wisconsin is among the widest in the nation. Only Washington, D.C. is worse, according to the study. Congresswoman Gwen Moore grew up in Milwaukee, and she's recently met with the U.S. Secretary of Education about methods to help minority and poor students in her home district. She joins us now from Washington. And Congresswoman, thanks very much for doing so.
Oh, great seeing you, Frederica.
Thank you. Well, what is your reaction to this report that shows the severe gap in Wisconsin between black and white children's test scores?
Well, Frederica, I'm sad about it, obviously, but I'm not surprised. I mean, for decades, we have seen 3 Ps prevail in the Milwaukee community. First of all, extreme poverty, pregnancy among teenagers, and perverted public policy. Starting out with poverty, tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs have left to Milwaukee. And of course, when you look at the discouraged black male worker in Milwaukee, you're looking at an unemployment rate that exceeds 50%. The teenage pregnancy rate for the past decade, we have seen Milwaukee up, sixth of 10 of the 50 top cities for its high teen pregnancy rate. And of course, 10 years, we're looking at children's children who are now 4th graders in the public school system. And of course, perverted public policy. We have seen tens of millions of dollars diverted from public benefit programs to private use, as well as monies intended for public schooling diverted from public use to private use. What? So it's not. This is a crucible for failure in Milwaukee.
Why do you think Wisconsin has allowed this to go on for so long?
I can tell you that as far back as I can remember, and even before I was born, we had Mayor Frank Zeidler warning the city about hypersegregation, about the impact of discrimination and what it would do. I think people have gone for the quick fix, and as I indicated earlier, Frederica, there have been public policy decisions that have benefited folk in other parts of the state. For example, the flawed school formula has meant that there's been $1,100 less for public school students in Milwaukee, and those dollars have found their way into public schooling in outstate districts. The cry for public vouchers has really harmed Milwaukee public school funding at their expense to the benefit of outstate schools.
Okay,
so there's been money involved. That's part of it.
At this point, what kind of urgency needs to be placed on this issue?
We need a Marshall Plan. I can tell you that one of the things that I've been doing has been trying to work on building a support system, some wraparound assistance around these parents. First of all, they're very poor, and as you know, with our welfare reform program, it's been one of the most onerous in the country. I've worked on lowering the child tax credit so that parents who earn as little as $3,000 a year can have extra money in their pocket. I think the President, Barack Obama, was right when he told the NAACP that parenting is work. And so we need to fill the gap with public benefits and public dollars so that parents don't find themselves cobbling together 2 or 3 jobs in order to take care of their kids. We need to stop diverting those public dollars to private uses and give families the support that they need. There's tremendous poverty in Milwaukee. We've got to close the poverty gap before we can close the educational gap.
What about...
We can't...
Go ahead.
We can't, expect kids to do well when their parents are just not there. They're on to their second job in order to make ends meet. The threshold for receiving public benefits is so high that it is taking parents away from their responsibility and their roles to take care of their kids. In addition to that, we can't hope to lower class sizes to provide enrichment programs and summer school programs for our kids, taxing the property taxpayers in Milwaukee if we're using all the funds to enrich districts outside of Milwaukee.
You yourself are a successful graduate of the Milwaukee Public Schools. What, in your mind, allowed for that kind of success?
Well, I'll tell you, Frederica, the truth is that we were already seeing an erosion of services even back in 1969 when I graduated. But I'm telling you, I had a nurse that I could go to at school, very important for reinstating me with my mother after I foolishly ran away from home. I had a librarian that I have a relationship with today that could introduce me to new ideas and concepts. I was able to take German, French, and Latin. I was able to go to summer school without being a failing student so that I didn't have this summer attrition of skills and ability. We had social centers and after-school programs. I fight very hard ever since I've been here to have community learning centers, breakfast programs, lunch programs, programs within the schools to support and subsidize what parents cannot necessarily afford to do or have time to do at home. We can't just scapegoat on parents. There was a lot of support in those schools when I was coming up, and there were a lot of different class offerings. We have to continue to do this.
We know that you met with the U.S. Secretary of Education very recently. Has he pledged to focus on MPS?
Well, I can tell you, I know that MPS is on the roster of schools that could possibly get some of the race to the top money. I think that the Secretary has some very clear ideas about how he'd like to see the leadership in Milwaukee structured. But what I will say is that there's no single person in Milwaukee, be it the mayor or the superintendent, that's going to fix the problems in Milwaukee. We need to address all those things I mentioned before. We have got to have programs like I've provided money to reduce teen pregnancy. We've got to focus on that. We've got to focus on the extreme poverty of these children, and we've got to fix funding flaws in our educational system that send all of the money outside of the Milwaukee public schools. We need resources, and we need it quite urgently.
We need to leave it there because we're about to lose our satellite window. But Congresswoman Gwen Moore, thank you very much for your time on this important issue.
Thank you, Frederica.